Welcome to the February 11th Shellfish Committee meeting. Before we get started, I just want to make a notice of recording. Please note that tonight's meeting is recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. And in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. First, we'll approve and discuss meeting minutes from the January 14th meeting. Any comment? All right. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the January 19th, 14th meeting minutes.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I have no comments, and we're on to Amy with the Natural Resources Report.
Okay, so I have growing area updates. After some years of water quality sampling in Barnstable Harbor, it was determined that CCB 31, 1, 3, 4, and 5 met the requirements to no longer be conditionally approved, but be reclassified as open. So they have been absorbed into the greater CCB 31.0. This is mostly important to any wild harvesters because on your tags now, Division Marine Fisheries wants the most specific down to the point blah, blah, blah from where you harvested from. So all of that area now is just CCB 31.0. Anyone have any questions about that?
Was that, did you say 34 was absorbed?
No, 31.4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 31.1, 31.3, 31.4, and 31.5. Yeah. We have the monthly propagation report. Due to cold temperatures and icy conditions, it's been a slow month for propagation work, which is literally driving us all insane because we're all at the office and everybody's sick and it sucks. We have instead focused significantly on preparing for our expanding school programs. Our shellfish propagation program with Barnstable United School has expanded from 40 fifth graders in 2025 to 120 fifth graders. It's a 3-part program that incorporates classroom lessons with dissections and field work. They're excited to have expanded this program as it gets more young people involved in the shellfishery. Along with this program, we also reach younger groups, including kindergarten students at Barnstable Community Innovation School. They do something called like Nature's Superheroes, and they do little segments on shellfish-related things. Marston's Mills River and Prince Cove will not open on time because there's ice and we can't get a boat in there to bring DMF out for water testing. We are hopeful to bring them out next Tuesday if we get a little bit more melty between now and then. We continue maintenance of gear fixing and reorganizing since most landings are iced in. Oyster season has significantly slowed down. Looking forward to warmer weather and being able to get back out on the water once this ice melts. Ooh. Any questions about that? All right. February year to date shellfish permit numbers. Down from last year, again, but slowly gaining momentum and catching up like we had mentioned last month. We're now requiring a photo ID of some sort to be included with your recreational shellfish permit. So it takes there's an extra step in the permitting process. So to date, we've sold 849 permits, where at this time last year there were 1,474. This also could be in part because oyster season has basically come to a halt with everything frozen and nobody's going out right now. But I mean, every year we pretty much level out, so somewhere close to around 3,100. Emergency SSO closure. So, sanitary sewer overflow occurred on the 31st of December, C Street area, around 2,250 gallons of sewage entered the roads and the water between 2:28 p.m. and 3:05 p.m. That was later walked back, where half of it was basically contained in the upland and about half of it, so 1,125 gallons of sewage made it into Hyannis Inner Harbor. But anytime you have an SSO issue, it's a mandatory 21-day closure. So we should reopen Sunrise on the 21st of February for SC 28.8, which is, Lewis Bay area. Any questions on that? Okay, we have fishing gear, debris questions. So recently, effective January 30th, DMF adopted new regulatory framework to manage and authorize the cleanup of fishing gear debris. A town councilor had reached out to the director of my department looking for some sort of guidance for community beach cleanups of gear and such. We already do a number of cleanups. Katie does a beach every month of the year. But she was looking to do something more meaningful, and that filtered down to the harbor master and then to me for review. And we had some questions that we wanted clarification from the state. So I reached out to Jared Silva, who's the policy analyst for Division Marine Fisheries, and we wanted more clear definitions on what's considered fishing gear debris, because it's a pretty broad term, and also wanted to have clarification on how that applies to aquaculture gear. So as written by Jared Silva, fishing gear is defined as a net, fish, car, trap, or other contrivance designed to catch fish. Mooring gear, so like town, ATONs and stuff like that, and vessels do not fall within this definition and therefore are outside the scope of this management framework. Note, aquaculture gear is not considered fishing gear debris, as discussed with Mass Shellfish Officers Association. We're relying on towns to continue to address aquaculture gear as they previously had. As for your question about the return of gear to its original owner, we only want to encourage those entities involved in beach cleanups or other gear cleanup activities to make an effort to return the gear to its original owner. If the gear is salvageable and identifiable, no one is under any obligation to do this. It's just a courtesy we think is worthwhile extending. We did discover that the cleanup that we do in the harbor, because it's intertidal, although not attached to the mainland, will not require a letter of authorization on the municipal end, which is great. I don't think we really have the capabilities to do some of the deeper gear removal with the kind of equipment that we have currently, which would require a letter of authorization. This does, however, lead to the question of, if you find aquaculture gear and it's tagged and not being under an obligation as just any random person finding it to try to trace it, it's just encouraged. I'm looking at opportunities to amend the regulations to have that be a requirement for anybody moving forward, since essentially anyone off the street could go walk a beach, find a tray, and is just encouraged to reach out to that person. Where we have pretty strict tagging requirements for our gear, I think, if you find something and it's tagged, it should either be turned into MEA, or if it has something that can tie you back to the person who it belongs to, there should be a requirement to at least make an attempt to get it back to that person.
Technically it's property.
It is, yes.
So,
yeah.
That's what it states on the tags.
Yeah, and so I just want to make sure that there's something clear in the regulatory framework that we have that takes away the encouragement and makes it a requirement. So more on that to come, because this only just recently happened.
Just as a quick aside
Yeah.
to that, I think if you find something and you're gonna have to return it, if you brought it to the MEA versus putting two people in the public together, it would be simpler and cleaner and safer for everybody.
Yeah, the other thing too is we usually tell aquaculturists, if you or anybody, if you're out and about in a boat and you find something and there's a tag on it, you can always just drop a pin on it and share it with us, and then we can follow up. There, we have those capabilities with technology now. Because your regulations include herring, shameless plug for herring counter training, which is coming up February 24th. I used to run the volunteer count programs for the Marston's Mills River. Thankfully, Barnstable Clean Water took it over for me. They do an excellent job. Christopher Nappy does a presentation on the status of the town's herring runs at this training, and we encourage anyone to go, if you get 10 minutes in a day during the window in which we're counting herring, to get involved with it, because those numbers can help inform management decisions down the line if you ever want to, say, open a herring run again to harvest. That type of stuff is required. And then last, but certainly not least, I'm sure everyone knows by now that we had a procedural issue. Oh, that is tiny. with the first lottery drawing, due to the way that those applications that come in online were handled as point of sale items rather than as a wait list or a permit application, they weren't showing up in a person's like account on my end. And so there were 3 people that had met the application deadline, had paid the $5, but I never, had a physical copy of that for the binder that I then used to attach the lottery tickets to. So they were essentially like ghost applications to me. It was brought to my attention after I was off work, after the hearing had taken place, and we knew we were gonna have to try to formally address the situation. We reached out to the legal department, followed the threads of where things fell through the cracks. Moving forward, anyone that had applied, it will be treated as a wait list for next year, although you're under no obligation to reapply. If you don't want to be in the lottery, at least there will be the application attached to that person's account should they choose to do it. So it's like 100% traceable on our end moving forward. Unfortunately, when you use technology and you have issues, sometimes you don't know that the issue exists until it presents itself. The legal department did advise that the best course of action was to have a redrawing, and after lengthy internal discussion with management and again with the legal department, a decision has been made that on top of the redraw, which will take place next Tuesday, because I also didn't know that when you cancel a meeting, if you don't tell the town clerk, that it doesn't get taken off the town calendar. So the one that was allegedly on Tuesday that I canceled wasn't ever taken off the calendar. But there is one on the calendar for next Tuesday. This is the information for it. It's at 10, it's via Zoom. We are going to honor the first 2 people that were drawn in the initial lottery. And I will be following up with them via certified mail with the next steps in terms of procuring commercial permits that would be effective April 1st. And in addition, when we hold the hearing next Tuesday, we will be offering an additional 2 permits to the number 1 and number 2 people drawn in that lottery to address the fact of the 3 people that weren't in the first one and should have been. And we will be a 49 permit commercial fishery moving forward.
What about the people that didn't pay the $5?
So it's my understanding that they were given the opportunity to pay the $5. I am not checking until like next, probably this Friday, to see like who is like finally in the list.
That's not a really good outcome, I don't think.
I understand that you don't think that it's a good outcome, but the reality is that the technology that we're
Why not
using.
just overall, just redraw it. Why are we're just adding it because of the department's mistake, we're gonna dilute the fishery with 2 more permits?
It's the most appropriate course of action to address the fact that this is the most fair course of action for the 2 people that got drawn when we know we have 2 vacancies already.
What about 3
and
and
it's
4?
the most fair to the people who didn't get included in the first drawing.
What about the person that got number 3 maybe? And if somebody else lost their license and they held that list, then they would have had it.
That
So,
still doesn't
if there's-
account for the fact that those 3 people were not included in the initial drawing. We have to have a redraw.
No, I'm talking about like the first drawing. 1, 2 get the permit.
Mhm.
That 3rd person is next in line, and if somebody loses their permit or would have lost their permit, then that person's losing out, and everybody else on that list is losing out.
So essentially, if we weren't going to do a redraw, those people likely wouldn't get permits anyway, because at this point, at least half of you have given me everything that you need to be fully in compliance with getting a permit for April 1st. I don't think there are gonna be any more vacancies.
Yeah, I mean, that's not up to speculation. I think it's what's fair is to do a draw. I mean, it doesn't make sense to be adding permits for just because of a mistake. I mean, it really is unfortunate, but they have just the same likelihood to get the same exact outcome.
I understand.
And everyone missed it. I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
how about the people that weren't in the lottery? They get permits.
I understand
doesn't
what
that
you're
work?
saying, but like I said, this has been vetted through the legal department. The 47 number is a number that came to be as a result of attrition after having put a cap on the existing permits when there were a couple hundred of them, having some years of 3 out, 1 in, and then eventually it just stayed at 47.
Now we have
I
7
think-
more apprentices
I
possibly get their
think that we
license.
can sustain 2 additional commercial permits without it being a burden on the resource, giving the reality that not everybody gets their livelihood from these permits, not everybody uses them on a regular basis, if at all. There are no quotas in place. So this is the direction that we're moving. There was a thought that if we went to 49 and then waited for it to go back to 47, but that wouldn't be fair to future lottery years. So this was, it's admitting that, yeah, there was a mistake, understanding that an additional 2 commercial permits are not going to be burdensome
Based
to the
off what-
point that it's gonna take down the fishery. And it's the most fair way to address an unfortunate situation.
Candy?
I think the town council
Jake,
should
wait,
ask about that.
Candy?
No, I think she addressed it. I was gonna say, if you increase it by 2, and then the next time there's 2 vacancies, just let it go, so it drops back down to 47. And then-
I think the issue though is that 47 wasn't ever a number that was determined as like the sustainable number. It was a number that through the administrative process of capping the fishery, and then, like I said, having a number of years where it was 3 people out, only 1 person in, it just leveled out at 47.
My concern would be if you start messing with that number, then you're gonna weaken your argument as to why you're gonna keep it at 47 versus 49, 50, 51. So if you kind of have that number and work with that number, then it gives it some strength. Whereas if you make arguments to change it, then how are you gonna say no later on?
I think the town council should hear about it and talk about it. I think it's pretty important.
How come it can't just be done strictly in person? That eliminate the technology factor out of all of it.
Like if you wanna
You
be
go
a
in and you want a
lottery,
piece of
have to
paper,
fill in-
you give $5, you get a piece of paper to fill out, and then,
And plus, if you have
That's
to
it.
come in, it's easier than just pushing a button.
well, you should have to come in, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying, you should have to
should be,
It's the effort,
yeah, I mean, if you wanna go get a permit, you gotta go down and
Yeah.
that's all they're asking to do.
I will
It's the one
say
thing.
that it's, not the history of where most town governments are going to only allow things to be done in person. Largely people want an online option for things.
So do you have to pay a fee for if you're online? Cause I don't understand, you can't pay a debit card when you're at the place, you'd
Yeah,
either
there's a
check or cash.
processing fee, yeah.
So I mean, why even, I guess,
I have no
why don't we
idea.
just keep it in person and it would literally eliminate any,
Misunderstood.
it would eliminate most clerical error or anything on that end. It's literally a folder at that point.
I have a question.
Yes.
Amy, who are the population for the second round? Is it the first 2 people aren't in, but the
No, the
missing
first
3
2
are in?
people would be offered the permits from the, from
Okay.
having been drawn number 1 and number 2 in the first hearing, in the first lottery drawing. They would not be a part of the second drawing because they're
Okay,
being
second.
offered permits. I know both individuals are domiciled in town. I know that both of them, at least one of them, has been on the lottery list for, I think, since the beginning of the lottery.
Right, but the 3 missing people will be in the second one.
The 3 people who are not included in the first one will be included in the second one,
Thanks.
yes.
Will it be just those 3 people or everybody other than the first 2?
It's everybody other than the first 2 plus the 3 that were missed.
I'd just like to say about the arbitrary 47, it's not an arbitrary number. I know that's where it's settled at, but after reading the minutes and everything about the history, the committee and the public got together and said that we don't need to do this anymore. And it wasn't a scientific number. They just felt like there wasn't anyone else coming in, there wasn't anyone going out. They just capped it. It was when it felt right, which in a way is a science. The observance and the public input that agreed on that decided that was the number, and so if you're gonna, I know that that's something that you keep bringing up about how it's, it's an arbitrary number, but it's
No,
not
I
arbitrary,
have
it's
not
just,
said
it's
that
a
it's
randomness
arbitrary.
kind of number, but it's.
I said
I mean,
that it's a number that was
It's a
landed
meaningful
on.
number, and there's 20-something laden permits that aren't used, that are held by older folks for the most part that aren't gonna use them, and eventually they're gonna have to inevitably, because of life, give them up. And there's going to be, if you look at the track record of how the people getting their licenses, they're using them. There are a lot of latent permits, but that trend is moving towards the other direction. So
It
I just would like to
sounds
respect
to
the number.
me like if you want to respect the number, we're gonna go ahead and issue 4 permits for this year, but I can bring back the suggestion that we, moving forward, move back to a 47 permit fishery as people don't renew, and then leave it at closed at 47. And I can bring that back for discussion next month, because that's not something that needs to be figured out today.
You're saying the next 2 that give up
Would not be offered to the lottery, would go back to a 47 person fishery.
I would say I would be against that.
Yeah, I would too.
So it's like, you do the first drawing, you're the first 2 selected, and then she tells you, no, you can't have your permit because we forgot 3 people.
Right.
Or, you do this situation, no one's gonna.
Why not just redraw it? Why, I know it's unfortunate, it's so unfortunate, but it is the town manager's fishery, and obviously that's probably the reason that you're allowed to do this. You're also allowed to just do a redraw. It is a horrible mistake that I hope nobody gets blamed for, and it was just a mistake in the changing of things, and the third person on the list that doesn't get it. If, like you said, maybe everybody gets their permit, it's unlikely, but somebody dies. That can't be predicted. That third person would have had a license, and I think it really is
I think my
unfortunate.
question was answered.
Oh, you're good, okay.
Yeah, thank
I think just redoing the lottery,
I mean,
keeping it 47.
if it's
I mean,
been through their legal team, and,
well,
I mean, what else can we do within the time frame of next 2?
we can talk about it. No,
I mean, yeah, does anyone
I mean-
want any comment other than Jake? Yes.
Yes, Bruce Blackman. I have a comment. I'm kind of going to speak on behalf of the 3 individuals that were unfortunately admitted. Really, what you're proposing, that puts them at a disadvantage. If they were in the initial lottery, they had the shot at the 2 known openings. But now they're applying, they're going to get a chance to go into another lottery, but there's no openings, and there's unlikely to be any openings. I don't know if any of those 3 people are here tonight, but
no, they're gonna
There's gonna be 2 more.
they're gonna add 2 more licenses. They're gonna
Adding
do
2 more.
another lottery with 2 more openings.
oh, okay.
It would be increasing the fishery by 2
licenses.
permits.
additional to the 2 that were just drawn.
Hank?
Henry Sandali. So if everybody, all 47 existing licenses renew, then this would just go away, right? It wouldn't go up to 49?
No. So what was suggested in an effort to address the fact that this unfortunate situation happened is to honor the first 2 people that were drawn. We knew we have 2 vacancies, so those 2 permit,
So there
permits would
already
be made
is 2
available.
vacancies?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Scott and Tina moved to Florida,
Oh, okay.
so there are 2 vacancies. And to address the fact that the other 3 people were not included in a process that they should have been included in, to redraw and offer the first 2 people that got drawn there also permits. So it would be increasing the closed fishery from 47 to 49 permits.
Yes.
My name's Marion. I just had a question about procedural. I understand that there was a mistake made. And the people that were drawn obviously have a legal recourse. It was an official meeting and they could do an injunction and say the whole thing wasn't done right. Did you, in fact, it was a public meeting, did you have to change bylaws to go from 47 to 49? Or was that done within your ability to do that?
That number is not written anywhere. It's just a closed fishery that
So there's
we
nothing.
offer permits through the lottery for.
Okay.
And it doesn't dictate, it dictates like the circumstances under which a permit can be offered, but doesn't prohibit the closed fishery from growing at a future point in time.
Okay, so I think the issue that I'm hearing people say is one of equity, because the two people have a case that they, you know, if I were one of those people, I'd be like, no, you gave me in a public meeting my spot.
Right.
But the fairness is whether it be, now you know there's two more that have relinquished it, you know, it sets a unfair precedent, public trust and unfair precedent moving forward, that people are, were the rules followed, you know, there was a procedural thing done. So what I'm hearing is because of the procedural thing, you're gonna solve it by giving the two people that have a legal issue because their name was announced, and then the other two are vacancies. So it isn't like have you increased it, or you're just filling the vacancies? Because that's where the equity comes in about people's odds of being selected.
So, so you're
And
saying.
it's a lottery. A lottery is a lottery. There's rules against lotteries as opposed to sweepstakes or, you know, and your legal person would know that.
So yeah, the legal team had stated that this was, you know, the lottery as it's held for the issuance of commercial permits is an administrative process that establishes a list by which you know, give them out as they're available. So essentially, the solution that was agreed to again was to address the fact that the first two people had been drawn. Mm-hmm. It was, you know, a botched lottery drawing, but they had been drawn. And then to, in the redraw, issue 2 other permits, but it will increase the amount of permits that are in the fishery from 47 to 49.
Okay, and somebody decided 47 to 40, there was nothing that had to be done, no bylaws, no rule changes. Somebody said, as the role of fisheries, that we can make it whatever number we want.
Yeah, I mean, we could open up the fishery and not put a cap on the amount of commercial licenses that are issued, and I'm sure there'd be an influx of people that then decided to pursue a commercial permit, but I'm also sure that over time it would level out somewhere.
And the next question would be, what would prevent this from happening again? Because it was just, we all make mistakes.
Yeah,
I made a lot of them myself.
You know, like it's interesting. Like I can bring to management the idea that this should not be available online at all as an application process. Which then, if you have to do it in person, there's only really one way in which you're transferring paperwork that it can go off the rails. Their solution to the issue that we had in the online permitting tool was to switch it from a point of sale item that then doesn't attach like the application to the online account to a wait list or permit type structure, where like once we do all of our email renewals out to the masses for everything that now falls within a calendar year, the people who participated in the previous year's lottery would be notified of the window, being given the opportunity to update their application, pay the fee online, and then when you look into and do like a report, it's there, it's visible attached to their account, rather than just like I bought a hat or a shellfish gauge, which was what it was sort of labeled in as a point of sale item prior.
I see the logic, but I would say going away from the online would be a mistake. I would think there's some procedural things to say, okay, this month, these are all the people that applied, these are all the people that have been notified, and 30 days from now, we're gonna do this. If you have, you know, an issue, your name doesn't appear, notify somebody by a certain time. That's the 2 cents.
Yep.
Don't you think this is setting a dangerous precedent though, going forward, that anytime there's a mistake or whatever, we'll just bump the number up from 47 to 49, now I'll bump it up to 51, bump it up to 53, you know?
I mean, I've been working for the town for 20 years and this is the first time this has happened.
Right, but now that it's happened, it's usually snowballs, you know, like now there's a precedent to raise the number.
I understand what you're saying, but I think, you know, I have to agree with management that this is the most fair way to go to all of the entities that were affected. And again, I don't think that having a closed 49 permit fishery is going to be like a tremendous burden compared to a 47 person
I agree.
fishery.
But if in 10 years it's now at 58 because of whatever reasons, then eventually it will become a problem, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're working very hard to take the steps to ensure that this doesn't happen again, because nobody wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wanted this to happen.
No, I agree.
Like, you know, you can ask any aquaculturist that's in this room, any commercial permit holder that is in this room, I go out of my way to be organized. I checks and balance all of you. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room at some point in time has received a phone call, a text message, an email, if not all three, reminding you to get your stuff in on time so you do not lose access to your livelihood. So I didn't want this to happen. I try my hardest to make sure this doesn't happen. And I'm going to try my hardest as his management to make sure that this never happens.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that
He doesn't
that's the
doubt you, it's
case.
not
I'm-
insulting, he just. is-
No, I'm just saying that, like, you know, what if something else happens down the line? Unforeseen,
Accidents-
not a mistake, some whatever, they can look at it like, oh, well, you know, in 2026,
Like
there
a
was
hardship
a,
license, maybe.
in 2026, there was a mistake, and we bumped up to 49. In 2030, something else happened, we can bump it up to 51 or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I just think we're taking the steps to ensure that this type of situation can't happen again. And like I said, this is the first time that this has happened in all the years that I've been here, and I don't know of it happening in any other lotteries prior to. It's just, you know, it's unfortunate, but this seems the most equitable and in good faith way to address both the issues.
Joe?
I just had a question, it sounded a little unclear, so it sounded like you were gonna potentially add 49 if nobody else drops, the new number would be 49, and then in 27, you would try to walk that back.
That's up for
If
discussion.
somebody dropped,
Yeah.
you would try to walk it back
That's
to
definitely up
47.
for discussion. Like if that is what, you know, the people in the fishery want, I don't think that people that are actually actively engaged in the lottery every single year would be in favor of that. I think, you know,
I would imagine they'd be pretty upset.
if we walked it back, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, I'm okay with becoming a 49 permit fishery. Management and legal team is okay with us becoming a 49 person fishery. They didn't have any issues with it as it was proposed because we don't have anything like in the regulations stating like it's closed at this specific number.
Can they put that in there?
Yeah, we can.
I
We
mean,
have to
we
talk
could
about
put
it,
it
yeah.
in as 49 moving
Yeah.
forward.
That's what I mean, at least that would stop this conversation going forward, at
We
least.
can do that.
Mhm.
I'm fine doing that.
And at the same time, if there weren't razor clams in the harbor and we were having this conversation,
Would it
no
be a
one would give a
conversation?
damn. So, like, let's be real here. I mean, yeah, this is an unfortunate situation, but 2 permits at the end of the day being added is not the
end of
worst thing
world.
in the world.
No.
To a fishery that used to have 200 permits.
And it is
And
the
it's
results.
like, me and you talked earlier, Chatham's got 250. Yeah, it's completely different, but like,
No, we'll get to that part.
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I think there's no better way to avoid that, so. Any other comment? Joe?
I just wanna say, like, historically, we started the cap, I think the goal was to shoot for 50.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little discrepancy as to what the goal was. I think we were all, as a group, with natural resources, shooting for the number of 50. I mean, it would be great as a stakeholder if I was the only one, I'd be tickled to death about that. But, you know, I think, you know, it would help to look at it historically as 50 being the number that we were trying to hit.
Yeah, just one comment, not directly related to this. I understand we're talking about growing the fisheries by 2 permits, and I'm hearing in the big scheme of things, maybe it doesn't have a big impact. But right behind that, we've got this apprentice program. You start adding those 2 together, then you've got some significant growth in the number of commercial license, which, you know, you're gonna have to consider
I mean,
seriously.
We already
consider
voted
the
on it.
impacts.
I'm just gonna put this out
grandfathered in.
there that although there are 7 participants in that program right now, they're all relatively young. And who knows if they're actually going to want to fish. Maybe their parents will pay for their permits for a certain number of years and maybe they all wanna be lawyers. I have no idea. I think you're hinging this all on all 7 of these children becoming full-time commercial shellfishers, which I don't think is even the intent of the parents that have the kids in the programs, you know? Just being honest.
You never know.
Yeah, it's not just,
It's true.
just maybe if you just come out for razor clamming and it's 7 permits extra for that. It's maybe not full-time, that's the problem, it's the taking the cream off the top.
Well,
You know.
we all tried to go through that already, so.
We voted on it,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a done deal, so, but we're working on it, so.
That dance.
Alright, we good to move on? Alright, we'll have a redraw on Tuesday.
Yep, and then,
Is that at noon again? Is it noon? 11?
10.
10?
Alright, new business, snow removal at landings discussion. I asked for this to be put on because apparently our DPW said it's not their responsibility to plow any of the landings. So I thought that was ironic because your department doesn't have a plow.
oh yeah, they said it
And-
was my department's
Yeah,
responsibility.
and I actually plow for the town, and they were borrowing her truck, to do the operation for that big storm. You know, I plowed up in Worcester for 5 years, and when we did our routes, you know, at the end of our routes, we would hit the schools, the cemeteries, like everything. We could be going 24 hours straight, still had to do those. I called DPW, because I currently plow for our town, and asked it, hey, can I add, you know, Blish, to my route? Just, and I was like, hey, not the ramp, you know, I'm not expecting you to do the ramp. I was like, what about the parking area? You know, cause we get 10 inches of snow, then all of a sudden the fishery opens back up again, cause the ice usually clears within a couple days. Then we got 30 trucks in there trying to park and home, yeah. So I figured bring this discussion up, cause either, you know, I'm not sure how to go about this, but either set the tone to DPW, like, hey, make sure you get these done, or if it's actually they push it on to you guys get a plow. Sorry. But my thing is like the rec areas, the fishing areas, like, yeah, I ended up plowing Blish. Whoop-de-doo. But like, you know, honestly, I wanna get paid for it. If it takes an hour on my truck, or, you know, just, hey, put it on your vehicles. So I wasn't sure, seeing, you know, you're here, if there was a way, you know, just to put a definition on whose responsibility it is, you know?
So what about the other, like Scudder Lane, did that get?
Scudder ended up being fine because it's like, you know, part of the road.
Yeah.
We had issues at Prince Cove.
Dan McCarthy. Dangerous. Dan McCarthy, you can't even turn around in right now.
Where's that?
Beacon plowed.
Beacon, like, yeah, I mean, Beacon, who's a marine construction company, they ended up having to plow Prince Cove.
Sent it over for Dan McCarthy.
Yeah.
I was there 2 days ago and got stuck. Literally got stuck.
I almost got stuck at Bridge Street.
Yeah,
last week.
it's like almost a borderline safety. I'm not gonna say it's a safety issue, but it is, like, when I turned around the other day at that boat ramp after looking, I'm like, I got upset because I'm like, I should not be getting stuck at the end of a public road in a public lot.
Right.
And just I'm turning around, like
It's
yeah, oh yeah.
Public parking lot is a public boat ramp.
Yes.
So why isn't
Well,
the town?
Blish is not, but
Blish is a
State.
weird thing, but
Blish is weird.
it's kind of like a kindful suggestion to the town, like, hey, maybe you guys should
Not to put it in the
figure
ramp.
that out.
It seems like Blish Point is like a major landing, like Princess Cove gets iced in, or Cordwood gets iced in, but Blish Point's like a major access to get out into the ocean. Seems like that should fall onto the town as a safety issue.
I mean,
I do snow removal also for like condo complexes and stuff. If there's an empty condo unit, I still shovel out that walkway in case there's some sort of fire or emergency. Seems like that Blish Point should be treated the same way.
and that's a good point too, cause like, say if we're out there fishing and there is an emergency, then we got a problem on our hands. And I mean, Blish is Blish, you know, technically would that be DOT's responsibility to, but we're not going down. I'm not, it's just a suggestion to the town, I'd say, maybe we should get that figured out, you know?
It was a battle enough just to move the sand during the summer.
Yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous. You can't even get up the ramp. I'm going like, where is everybody? Why can't they just go down there?
Yeah.
It just take 2 seconds. And then
And their argument also was, oh, we don't wanna put a $500,000 loader on the ramp, and I was like, I'm not asking you to do the ramp, I'm just saying the lot in general, like, just do the lot, like, we'll do the ramp, like.
on that ramp there, couldn't they just put, where because all the wind blows it from that side, from the north, from
This
the
is a
northeast.
whole, that's a state
It
ordeal.
blows it right there. Why couldn't they just put like a 4-foot wall right there?
We gotta ask the
And that
state.
would just stop all that sand from
Conservation.
flowing
Yeah.
over it.
I will say, Jeff, to your point, that Harbor Master has now an agreement with conservation that allows up to once a month for the sand to be removed so that it doesn't secrete that way anymore. So if you notice, and I don't happen to, that it's building up and is becoming a challenge for you to launch a Blish, let me know, cause they can put in a work order for that without having to go through the Conservation Commission once a month.
Okay, that's good.
Said let you know?
Or Brian Taylor,
Oh, scooped
either
out
or,
pretty good,
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Both of us in case one of us isn't around,
That
then
do
maybe
rehab
notice it,
projects.
yeah.
They kept it clean for the summer, people.
Yeah.
For the tourists.
So it's like, what's
Make
the,
it nice and beautiful, but
what more to do, so?
yeah, make it nice and beautiful for the.
Just the one last thing, it's kind of about the parking, but it's not necessarily the plowing, but, I've noticed that this year, I don't ever remember those 2 docks, being in the parking lot. And then in addition to that, obviously the lot out back is all covered in, the docks, and I know that that's because they wanna work on the docks, but, and I don't know if this is the right time to talk about it, but maybe docks that don't need to be worked on could be stacked, and ones that do need to be worked on not stacked, because, you've seen like the Red's Best truck parked perpendicular to everybody because there's nowhere else for anyone to go.
I think we had it, didn't we try to do something with this a couple years ago?
Well, for storage, but even if it wasn't like clear the whole lot for storage, if it was just, maybe a quarter of the lot, 'cause it's almost the entire lot, almost like 95% is docks. If you could just make a little bit more parking, and you know how much busier it gets with the aquaculture. There's like everyone that has 2 boats is bringing 2 boats, in the fall and the spring, and
I mean, I think that's more of a harbor master.
I was gonna
deal.
say, you know who you need to talk to about that.
Yeah.
And it's not me.
like at waterways.
No, like you need to talk directly to the harbor master about
Okay.
that. Cause those decisions are made on that side of the house. We don't have any say in that.
But, Gordon, if there's a certain way to go about it, just let me know, and, you know, I'm not trying to be a pain in anyone's side, but I was just kinda like, oh.
No, I'm talking about the DPW.
Yeah, I mean, I tried talking to him, but I'm just a Shellfish Committee guy.
You got your picture on them.
Alright, we go all the way down to old business, apprentice program. Before we get going, I know I've missed the past couple meetings, but I have read through everyone's stuff. I mean, it sounds like no one wants it. I think the biggest, no one wants the addition of permits going into the fishery. So my question is if we have any apprentice program and you take that out of the equation, what's the prize for doing the apprentice program? And I think, you know, there's a lot of benefits that can come out of it, you know, but do I think there should be some type of program? Sure. It's just, you know,
So,
if we take that out of the equation, I think that's mainly everyone's concern, you know.
if you guys want, I did receive 4 additional commentaries and consistent with last month, just so that they are actually in a part of the public record. I'd like to read them into the record. And then Scott Corkage did ask a question at the last meeting last month about the towns that have these open fisheries and some type of either apprentice program, junior commercial license, full-time student license, etc. that I didn't have the answers to at the time, so I did look at all of those shellfish constables from those other communities and did receive some responses from about half of them. So I'd like to just go through those with you guys and then give you kind of like what my take is on it after having digested all of this stuff, and then just kind of continue the discussions if that so pleases the committee.
I think you didn't read Tom Luce's at the bottom too last time.
Oh, yeah, that one should have been assigned a number because okay, well, let's start with Tom's because it was submitted after the 14th. Hello, my name is Tom Luce. I've been a full-time commercial shellfisherman for roughly 40 years and a Barnstable commercial shellfisher since 2015. My recommendation for the Shellfish Committee is to discontinue the apprentice program. The 7 apprentices enacted recently need to stay intact as they've already begun the process. Barnstable is unique. The current permit lottery was enacted intentionally to sustain the commercial shellfishery. I know of several fishermen from other towns who are envious of our shellfish management with respect to the original architects of the Barnstable Commercial Shellfish Plan. The lottery system is fair and open to all Barnstable residents who are interested in commercial shellfishing. Continually bypassing lottery by adding apprenticeships will diminish the incentive of having